Thanks for pointing it out. It is a fox. Do
So
they
I
ship? Do they ship to the Southeast Asia? How long does it take you on average to make a spread?
averagely probably an hour at least, an hour, and that wouldn't even include writing onto the pages.
Welcome back. And we are up for another episode of Pen.
No.
I'm Ryan.
I'm
And
Nika.
she's Jika. And today we are so happy to have with us a guest from Malaysia. Someone who, at least now, we have a perspective from a guy. And we've invited someone who is into creative scrapbook journaling from Malaysia. And his name is Harry, or as his Instagram handle is, foxscribbler. Hi, Harry.
Hi, Harry. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, Jika. Good evening, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me today for this session together. I think I'm very happy to be able to be part of the team. And little did I know that this is actually the very first coming from a guy's perspective. I never knew that it has never happened before. So I think hopefully I will be able to provide some kind of insights and information to all of you today. So I think before we go along, maybe just let me introduce myself. And as mentioned by all of you, my name is Harry, and I'm the person behind the Instagram handle called foxscribbler. And yes, I'm a Malaysian. I'm a 33 years old guy over here, which only about 5 years of experience in journaling. So it's not that long. But yes, and I'm actually in the medical sales industry, so it's not exactly like a designer or like like anything that got to do with creativity. So it's pretty much different from what I'm doing as a full-time job. So this is more of like a hobby. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, actually, we've invited guys before, but it's always about fountain pens. But we don't have much insights on how guys actually do journaling, and more interestingly, scrapbook style of journaling. And I'm really a fan actually of your Instagram, because it's so dapper. It's whimsical but masculine, but at the same time, it just transports me to like a different world. If you know what I mean.
So much. Thank you so much for the really kind words. So yeah, I'm really happy that you like it.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about your content actually in our Q&A in a short while. But to start off first, our episode, we'll begin first with the segment called Noob Discoveries. So this is a wordplay on the word new discoveries, wherein we share every episode something we've learned or something we've discovered in relation to fountain pens, stationaries, journaling, and the like. So maybe we can invite you first, Harry, to share your new discovery.
Okay, so just to let all of you know that Malaysia right now, we just probably like got out from a lockdown not too long ago, probably just like a couple months ago, and there wasn't really anything that I could go out and discover from the stationery store. But of course, like what we normally do is that we will usually shop online and browse online, and we will always get something out of it. And I think the latest discovery that I have that I'm really mesmerized with would be the fountain pen, of course, because, well, fountain pen is everything that actually helped me to create the beautiful work behind my foxscribbler Instagram. This will be the fountain pen that I really enjoy. I think it's Conclaim. Here, it is not just any fountain pen, because in a sense that I think you can tell from the size of it, it has a really thick body. And to me, the most important thing about writing with a fountain pen or any pen is the thickness of it. Mm-hmm. And when I found this online, I didn't think twice. Although it comes with pretty much steep price, but I thought that since it's going to be a very affordable pen to write with, why not? So this is the latest thing that I actually discovered for anything about my stationery these days. Another one would be, I think, if you have also realized from my Instagram, would be my journal. So this is one of the leather-bound journal from Bomo Arts Budapest. And what I really like about it is that, first thing is, I really love leather. Anything that got to do with leather, and I just love it so much, which I think I will share a little bit more later. And this particular journal has really good quality paper to write on. And for us, the journaling artist, the most important thing is the quality of paper. It has to be really smooth to write on. It has to be thick enough to not have any of the wet fountain pens to the ink to bleed through to the following pages. So this is another thing that I discovered, not really recent, but I think it's about a month ago. So it's something that I really love to carry with me these days.
Oh, that's
Oh,
sweet.
it's
Yes.
also pretty. I was looking at the exact same two things because I've been on my fat pen phase recently. So my pen noob, my noob discovery actually has something to do with yours because I too recently got a fat pen, um,
Oh,
fatter than what my hands can actually handle. But I'm learning to adjust to it because this is my grail. Um, a lot of people might have seen it on the Pen Noobs Podcast Instagram, but it is the Pilot Custom Urushi Vermilion. So it's huge, right? It's way huge. And my noob discovery is that it's way, way big when you put it side by side with the Sailor King of Pen. Like I had no idea that I had no idea what I was getting into in terms of the size of the pen, but apparently I'm kind of way in over my head right now. But it's so aesthetic. It is still my grail. I'm never letting this go despite how big it is. Yeah, and that's my new discovery. Fat
Oh.
nibs forever and ever. Fat pens forever. Thank you, Harry, for aligning.
yeah.
Actually, I'd align with you, Jika, as well. Speaking of Pilot, well, one of my noob discoveries would be there's this line of Pilot. Well, it's not really a line, but they do have a nib called the PO nib. So they call it the posting nib, which is very thin. It's like an ultra extra fine of the platinum line. So I was thinking about getting it because they did say that the posting nib of Pilot is intended for you to use it for cheap paper. And sometimes when you have to accomplish or fill up a couple of forms, usually government forms or in the mall or whatever, usually the paper is, of course, not expensive. It's going to be those that are for mass production. And so expect if you use a fountain pen, it's going to bleed through, like, right? Or it's going to feather. And so I was thinking of getting one simply for the sake of accomplishing documents outside that would need a pen that can accommodate. But then again, I realized, I don't think I'd want to spend that much money for just to simply accomplish those kinds of paper. But yeah, that's just my new discovery. I was thinking all this time that Pilot doesn't have a ultra extra fine, and then I just discovered that they actually do. So that's our new discoveries.
It's like things come full circle. It's like, do we have a hive mind? Are we just like thinking as one? I'm kidding. Okay, but that's it then. Noob discoveries. Done.
Yeah. Actually, Harry, in line with your new discoveries, I noticed your journal, the one you shown earlier. I think it has a design of a fox. I noticed. Yeah, I think it has an outline.
Can you see it from here?
I think yes. I didn't notice it at first, but Ryan, thanks for pointing it out. It is a fox.
Yes. So what I really like about this company is that they actually does customized design, but of course you do not get to provide a design that you want. So I was really lucky because out of the few designs that you get to pick, fox is one of them. So
Ah.
lucky when I saw the fox, I didn't think twice. I was like, okay, add to cart.
It seems like it was meant for you.
Yes.
Do
So
they ship? Do they ship to the Southeast Asia?
They do. That's
Oh
the
no.
magical part about it. They do ship to Southeast Asia.
Oh yes, and oh no, all at the same
Oh,
time.
yeah. I know what you mean. Yes. It's good news and bad news.
Yeah, good news and bad news. Right. So actually, Harry, we're gonna talk about later about that fox and you naming yourself as Fox Scribbler. But before we get into Harry as Fox Scribbler, we do want to get to know first your pen and journaling journey. And so our first question would be, how did you get started on journaling, planning, and stationery?
Okay. So journaling wise, I think station probably I'll have to go way back, okay? Because I think before I even get into journaling, I will really say that my passion for stationery, my love for stationery, started as young as the age of 7 years old.
Mm.
So that was my first year in elementary school. So what happens is that back in school there was this shop, a stationery shop in a cafeteria. So usually every day my mom would give me some pocket money to buy my lunch for every day, and of course I would spend the money on lunch. But every time I would have some change left, I would always pop by into the stationery shop to see what exactly I could get from the shop with the balance that I had for the day. So again, it would be something really minor like a eraser or like a pencil. And you know how back then, I'm not sure how it was for you, but for me, that was in 1995 when I was 7 years old. So we have like eraser of different kind of design, like cartoons with different figures,
Yeah.
different colors, different shapes. Some even come with scents. So I tend to collect those ever since I was 7 years old. And we used to play games with our peers in school in a sense that we would play like some kind of games like whoever eraser lay on top on the other get to keep the opponent's eraser. So that actually drew me into buying eraser over and over again. And of course, that wouldn't be that was something frowned upon by my mom, I would say. And yes, I had too many erasers then. And yes, so that passion and that love for stationery didn't die until like at the right old age of 33 right now, when we I could afford right now, with the job that I have now and with all the options that are available. And journaling came in the year of 2016. So that was 5 years ago from today. And why did I go into journaling in a sense was because I was inspired by a friend of mine who did beautiful work on her journal. And of course, her journal then would be something that involved designing on blank pages with colorful details, with calligraphy. And 5 years ago was the time I decided to learn calligraphy on my own. And I thought of joining classes. I would be, I really wanted to know how to write calligraphy by going through classes. But to be honest, I find the classes tend to be a little bit more expensive. And I'm the type who would want to try on my own before I would spend the money into classes to really catch the skill. And and I did. And I'm really glad that, with so many resources online that we could get these days, I managed to hone my calligraphy skills and I put that into my journal. And at the same time, I would be able to create beautiful pages while at the same time practicing my calligraphy. And journaling started from there. Usually, my spread at the very first year of journaling would be very plain. So it involved writing a lot on the book with just a little bit of embellished it with a little bit of stickers and whatnot. But again, those are more of like copying the style from my friend because I thought that what journaling is all about. And as I go along, as I went along until today, I found that journaling doesn't really have a standard to follow. You just do whatever you want with it. You just give the pages the design that you want that you are very happy with. So people would always ask me like, hey Harry, your journal looks really good, and how do I get to your level, or what is it that I need to do to get to your level? My very first advice to people would be just do whatever you love with a book because it is your book. It is a book that would accompany you every day. So just do whatever you want. And at the end of the day, you will find that you will find your own style in the very end. Yeah. And I think we could all agree that journaling does confer a lot of benefits, like improve your writing. And at one point, I did realize that it stored up my thoughts and my feelings. And I would just like to share that I didn't grow up in an environment where I could um, share my feelings or my thoughts or especially my challenges. So most of the time I would get really stuck with my own thoughts, and journaling did help me with that. It sorted out my feelings, it sorted out my thoughts. So every time when I wrote it into my journal, it gave me a very therapeutic feelings. At the end of the day, I just saw that, oh my God, so I pour all my feelings out. And when I start to do some design on it, and when I'm done with the whole entire spread, when I look at it, I feel really good and I feel fine. It somehow, provided me the kind of comfort that I would need beside talking to anybody. So the book is sort of like talking to my own soul. Yeah.
It's beautiful. A lot of insight there, Harry.
I
Wow.
know journaling is really something that, it means a lot to me. So I could talk and more, keep on talking about it. But yes, let's not go overboard.
There's more questions to go, so don't worry. We're actually really appreciating the way you answered, and like the tone of things is really something that we can relate to already, because that's how we feel about our journals. It's so weird because it's just paper, or like a lot of people would say that all we're doing is like sticking paper onto paper, ink on ink, adhesive on adhesive, and it's really not just that, right? Because it's a practice. It's something we do for us to live at this point in the pandemic, especially. So now I'm going overboard, but we do have another question. That yeah, okay. That being, our question is really about how striking your Instagram feed is. It's Ryan actually brought your feed to my attention, and I realized that it's so curated, aesthetic, but also like as a female journaler, right? And a creative journaler as well. The contrast between yours and mine is very striking. So how would you like if you had a word or two, or if you could describe your creative or journaling style? What would that word be, or how would you describe it?
Hmm. Well, I did give it some thought. I think I would like to call it simple, but again, it is not that simple. So maybe I would just say that my style would be very careful, and it would be something that every time when I wrote something onto my pages, and when I stick some of the ephemeras and some of the paper bits on the pages, I would think very carefully what I would want to put onto my pages, because I do see the need of linking it to the content that I'm about to share onto the pages. So take for example, like maybe it's a bit hard to understand, but I think take for example the latest post that I have would be about kindness, which is very much in tune with the World Kindness Day. So I put a post about kindness, yes, and somehow I think kindness, something about I think this angel wings would sings very true to kindness or to any compassion and to empathy. So this would be something that I want to put on. And the goal, I think, if you could see from here that I did it for the very first time, I did apply some gold leaf. I think this is really would really gel very well with the godly beings of an angel. It's like the glory of an angel. So you can see that it is shiny and it's just so majestic. So I decided to, keep it simple, like color tone like this as well. It's not going to be too colorful. I want it to be classy. I want it to be grand at the same time. So think of heaven. Heaven is just like probably like plain white with clouds with some glory of God that is like gold beam. So this is something like it. So I have that in mind. So I think my style would be carefully curating the pages, simple and try to be classy in the very beginning as well, not to be too messy, because what I really not want for my journal to be something too messy. Yeah. Because in the end of the day, the journal is going to bulk up a lot. So I try to keep it as simple as I can, but not too simple at the very same time. Try to put in more effort to make it look good.
Yeah, I
Can I
think yeah, sure.
Sorry, I do have a follow-up question because I didn't expect the careful answer. But now, because you said that you are very careful, how long does it take you on average to make a spread?
Averagely, Okay, averagely probably an hour at least, an hour, and that wouldn't even include writing onto the pages. So I have a little bit of OCD. I just am very particular about the things that I want to put on my pages. But I've tried before. The longest when I really do have like either a writer's block or creator's block, I would spend about 2.5 hours or sometimes 2 hours to really get a spread done. How I know is because every time when I prepare my pages on my journal, I would play a movie, so that the room wouldn't be too quiet, and somehow the background noise would actually help me to really focus onto my pages, because I'm the type that cannot focus in silence, complete silence. I need to study in noise so that I will be able to block them out and focus on something. So I tried before. I think I turned on a movie, and when the movie finished, I was still doing my journal. I was still planning the pages. I was like, oh dear, I have to repeat the movie or I have to play the next movie in order to continue to create the pages. So yes. So yes, that would be the longest time ever. A movie.
Wow.
Yeah, careful. Really careful, thoughtful planning. And I do think you did point out that's the word that I was looking for when I was thinking about, like, what does Harry's journals look like? It's really classy. Yeah, that's the term. It looks very classy. I would even use the word dapper. Your style is very dapper, but at the same time classy. And it's like, I mean, even your handwriting, it's like goals. Like, Harry, can you show us your handwriting again?
Okay, let me just show you a really clear and better looking one, which I really wasn't rushing. So I'm not sure you could see from here.
Look at that. Wow.
So this is usually how my writing would look like if I'm not rushing things. But let me see if I could show you a really bad one. I think I could.
Would it be as bad? Would it really be bad though? Because it looks great, right?
It probably doesn't look as neat as the one I showed you earlier. This looks a little slanted, the lines and the words, the slants may not be very uniform. So
Oh,
this
so
is
Nice.
what journal.
we can't tell the difference between bad and good. Like, we all just see it as good.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good, Harry.
Thank you so much. Both of you are too kind. I must really hope you are very kind. I think this is really what impressed me about the journaling community, because I do see the traits that people like us, we are all very kind, we are all very nice. So yeah, I think it's very encouraging.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. The community is indeed very encouraging. Actually, speaking of community, but before we actually even get to that, maybe you'd like to share to the community what exactly are your non-negotiables or your go-to stationery products. I'm sure some people are curious. How did Harry put that magic onto his journals?
Okay, so I think I have three non-negotiable stationaries that I must have. I think the very first one, as all of you already know, it would be a fountain pen, but a good one especially that you could write with. So this would be my number one non-negotiable fountain. It would be fountain pen, and actually even fountain pen would. There are different fountain pens with a different purpose for myself. So, for example, if I could just show a quick one, I have a fountain pen mostly for work. I would call it a power horse pen. So I think if you could see here would be the Twisby fountain. As you can see that the ink reservoir is probably would be the largest ever compared to any other fountain pen that I have. And I not only have one Twisby, I have more than one. Some with the normal writing like extra fine nibs, some with the a second Twisby just for in case I ran out ink on this one, I have another one. And I also have another, because work require my signature from time to time. I also have a special pen for signature. I think this would be Mont Blanc. And I really like it because the thickness of it would be a thicker nib. So when you sign on it, your signature will really stand out onto the paper. But it is really just meant for signing signature, because the ink reservoir in the converter is just so small. It's not really meant for, heavy writing. And yep, that would be my first non-negotiable stationery. My second non-negotiable stationery would be fountain pen ink. And I think you have already heard that I have pen for like normal writing, pen for signature. So I usually write my letters or even in my journal, something for casual writing. I would like to go with a few really good quality ink. I think this would be one of them. I'm not sure whether you have seen it. It's KWZ ink. This ink is called Old Gold. So it does have a very antique, and it doesn't look really brown. It's more of like antique gold kind of color. So if you want to write a letter and if you want to write onto your spreads to have a classy look or even like a really old ancient look, this would be the ink to go for. And another one that I would really like to share would be Copper Noir. So Copper Noir would be is from Monteverde, and yes, and this would be the color that actually dries up to almost like a rustic copper look. So it does have the kind of really rustic kind of feelings when you write onto your page to really go along with something dramatic. So yeah, I call it dramatic. And another one would be my mostly everyday go-to because it is mostly for work. So when it comes to work, you can't have fancy colors. So this would be the black color that I go for. It's actually Mont Blanc. I'm not sure whether you have seen this before, but this is a really special ink. It is called Elixir Parfumer ink, and this is wood and tobacco gray. So it looks like, and I can tell you that this writing with this ink is almost like writing with perfume. So yes, it is really yes, it's scented, and it's unlike any scented fountain pen ink in a sense is that it is really like perfume that you would wear on your clothes. Like other scented ink would be like lavender or I do not know. I don't really use scented ink anyway, but this is an exceptional because it does provide a very sophisticated feeling, especially when you meet your client, you want to sign your signature, and this will really leave an impression for them. They'll go like, "What's that smell?" So they would even start taking the paper and smell like, and I'll it's my ink.
I'm penabled right now. Like, Harry, I want that ink too.
Oh my! I went to the shopping mall a while ago for like 30 to an hour, and I went into Mont Blanc, and I didn't know if I knew that existed. Oh, can you imagine signing and it's not just like the normal act; it's like elevated because of the smell.
Yes. And what I can really explain the smell to you over here is let me just take a sniff because it has been. I think I got addicted to it. It is really woody. It is really a scent that you would be able to imagine you go into like a jazz lounge, and it would have that kind of gentleman's scent. It's like a really masculine scent to it. And I'm actually eyeing on a second scent from this range of ink from Mont Blanc as well. It is brown and it has a scent of leather. So one day, not now.
My
Okay.
God, there's a
Right.
leather smelling one. Oh no!
Yes.
Oh my! I know there are inks from Mont Blanc that smells I think like beer or cola. I forgot, but yeah, I know that they have that kind of line, but I didn't know they have those that smell like perfume.
Now you reminded me. Yes, Mont Blanc have another ink that smell like whiskey.
Whiskey, whiskey,
Yes.
not cola. Yeah.
Yeah. So this would be my second go-to item, and I think the third one would be a journal. I think let's not go through details. I think we have went through pretty much a lot about it. So I have one like this. I have one like the traveler's notebook for work mostly, and a carrier. I think the last non-negotiable stationery, I call it a stationery, would be a carrier. So this, let me just show you an example. Would be the leather carrier. I think all of you have seen on my Instagram. So this is what I usually go to work with because it allows me to keep my notebook, it allows me to keep my pens, and again to create an impression to my clients when I go and meet them. So they'll be like, wow, so dapper, like, everything is there. Even my business card is in here. I could even keep my iPad. So this would be from This Is Ground, but I believe the company is no longer active. So this is really a treasure for me. I only have two of them. So this is one. The other one is supporting my iPad. So second one is mine. And another one would be from Sky Bambi Stationery. My yes. So it's huge. So
He has it. He has the bag, the companion.
I know the companion. So it is really something that I would mostly use when I need to go crafting, because the bag is a little bit on the thicker side. So it is not too easy for me to carry around, especially when I go to work. So I reserve this bag mostly for crafting purposes. It will keep my journal and it will keep all my crafting materials inside. So yeah, there we have it. 4 non-negotiable stationeries for myself. Pretty sure that there are a lot of people would ask, like, what about washi tapes? What about like stickers and whatnot? I think those are accessories, but I don't think that I really rely a lot on them. Yeah.
But still, hashtag enabling.
Don't we all?
A lot of good stuff you have there, Harry. Wonderful. I feel so enabled right now.
And it's actually great, Harry, because like we ask this question and then I come to realize now that I've never actually answered that question myself. And you've essentially provided us with a toolkit of sorts for people who want to go heavily or maybe just get into journaling a bit more carefully. That's really very helpful. So, guys, everyone who's listening, go with a fountain pen. Go, of course, with your journal and have your carrier. Oh, and of course your inks that adhere to your aesthetics. So that's me reviewing it. On to the next question.
Yeah. So yeah, the next question is who, if any, did you look up to when you were starting out your journaling journaling days? So who inspired you, or like who did you look up to? Like whose videos did you watch when you were starting out with journaling?
Okay, so there are a lot of people that I actually look to when I first started off my journey in journaling. So I think for the very first part would be before I even start journaling, I would talk about handwriting. I think that would be some people who really like to know where I actually learned my handwriting from. I started writing cursive 5 years ago. So this is not how I usually write. So when I first started off learning on my own in calligraphy, I actually looked up to this the postman's knock. So they offer a lot. I mean, it's a she. So this I would call her a specialist. She would really offer a lot of advice about which calligraphy holder to go with, how should you practice, and she even provides some of the free worksheet for you to practice, to print out and practice on your own. And this would be something that I first started off looking at, would be the postman's knock. And then of course, after I learned about writing cursive and all that, I started to think about how exactly I could improve my planner or my journal with not just words but also with embellishment, like some of the stickers, some of the pieces that would really synchronize with my contents. And I actually looked up to this Guy Bambi, okay, because I find her style is very much something that I would prefer, because not to generalize, but to really think that most of the journaling artists out there, they do rely a lot on pieces that are like colorful and it's beautiful, but I would require something that is really more of a masculine and also more of a towards a simpler design. And she does provide that. And I really love how majestic her design look. So she was the one that I actually looked up to for about, for a couple of years before we actually met in person. Both of us, we are from the same city, but for some reason we didn't meet. I mean, we discovered each other like quite some time ago, but we never had the time to like, hey, come, let's have a drink and let's talk about journaling and let's share some ideas until a couple of years later. So that would be two persons that I would really look up to in my early days. But what really, I did a lot of research as well, like how I would want to really create that kind of masculine design in terms of journaling. I looked up to people like Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, that guy is awesome. Okay, I think if he was alive today, I would really love to see him and like worship him, because I think he's everything. He's a painter, he's a scientist, he's a sculptor, he is so many things. So he is really somebody that inspire me with his own handwriting and his notes. If let's say you could just Google some of his handwriting,
Yes.
they are so beautiful. And the next person would be Charles Darwin, because I myself is very much into a biological background. So I studied microbiology. So we do keep our own notes sometimes. So we need to draw some kind of scientific figure, some kind of diagrams. And his notebook is something that, would inspire me to really look up to, and how exactly I could be like him, to draw up another diagram and write something and to have that kind of masculine look. So yeah. So these are the four people that actually helped me out in my early days.
Wow, I never thought Charles Darwin had such a nice notebook.
And I was really lucky in a sense, like Leonardo da Vinci, like I thought that, if he was alive, I could meet him and all that. But when I was in the United Kingdom 2 years ago, when I was in London, I was really glad that, I could visit the Natural History Museum and also this Westminster Abbey. So that where he was laid to rest, and that was the closest distance between me and the person that I admire the most, and I was really happy about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And
And
you
I could just stand for minutes, like, oh my God, Charles Darwin, you're here. I thought I could just speak to him like that, like a mad person, but I didn't, of course. I don't want to get pulled out from Westminster Abbey.
That's so funny because when we ask the question, most people would actually answer with people on Instagram or people on YouTube. But this is the first time someone's actually answered it with people across different points in time. So it's very interesting an answer. And I didn't actually think about how far back we ought to go. And oh, is that a postcard or did you
Yes,
draw that?
I just pulled it out from my carrier. This is actually an art from Da Vinci. It's a page from his notebook, and they converted into a note postcard. So I thought that just to show you just how much I admire this beautiful person. Yeah. Sorry for the interruption.
No need to say sorry. We totally see it. I mean, there are, you guys can check it out online, but there are clearly manuscripts of both Darwin's works and Leonardo da Vinci. And once you cross-check, cross-reference, or triangulate their aesthetics with Harry's on foxscribbler on Instagram, you're gonna see that the influence is so clear.
True, that's true. Actually, speaking of Fox Scribbler, since Jeek already mentioned it, we want to get to know more about you as Fox Scribbler this time, and a little bit about the journaling community in Malaysia. So, could you tell us more about how did you end up with Fox Scribbler as your Instagram handle, or like who is Fox Scribbler? If someone was going to ask you, like, who is Fox Scribbler?
Okay, so I don't really exactly have an answer for that. I think the only answer I could give is that fox has always been my favorite animals, and I love to write. So I thought that combining these two together, it sounds really catchy in the sense you call it fox scribbler, or you can even call it like some other names like Southern Block. So I forgot about it. But yes, so I think it is really just really about fox being a favorite animal, and I love to write. And to elaborate a little bit further is that I think I love fox so much. I basically buy everything that related to fox. Like even my letter opener is a fox design. So
Wow.
That's so cool.
I know I don't know why I bought it for, but it's a fox. I just couldn't think like I must buy it because it's the fox.
That's so
If I could get a fox as animal as a pet here, I think I would like keep a dozen of them. But that's illegal here, so yeah, no. And I really do think that maybe it also syncs very well with my own personality. I have friends who always think that Harry, you are like a fox. I mean, some people even say that I look like a fox. I don't even know whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. So I just thought that it's a good thing because I think when I love fox myself so much, it's mostly because I find them clever, okay? And you want to call them cunning, yeah, well, maybe they are cunning, but you can't deny that they are smart. Okay, so perhaps that's the reason why they are being so cunning, and they are always on their own. They are independent. Unlike a canine, they are very much solitary animal, and I think that's really much who I am as well. And I do find that I'm very much self-sufficient. I do not need a lot of people, and when I write, I like to write in my own free time, like at night, especially at this hour when I can be on my own and be alone. So that's probably like how fox is. They tend to do things alone and they're independent. And they also symbolize wisdom. And I really do think that if let's say people do say that, if let's say you always found yourself drawn to fox and you love fox so much, your inner spirit or your animal spirit could be a fox. So I thought, okay, well, I don't really exactly know what animal spirit is, your animal spirit. But if let's say it is something that would guide me along the way as I go along, if fox really is my animal spirit, I think I would be very happy to be having that. Yeah. So foxscribbler is really much about like classy writing, I would say. So my content wouldn't be very much about personal things. So it would be very much about inspirational messages. It would be something even motivational as well. So when I decided to change my handler from harry.ix, where I think I used that name for the past few years, and I decided to change it to foxscribbler to really sync very well with the content that I'm actually showing to the world. So hopefully people would read from it. People would think that, a fox is actually writing onto his pages to provide the kind of wisdom to share with the world. Because what I'm really happy to hear from a lot of my followers when they told me that they feel, they felt hurt when I shared some of the inspirational messages, and they sort of like telling me that they were lost, they were having some challenges. But when I shared that particular post with a kind of inspirational messages, they would text me or even comment and say that this is exactly what I need to hear today. So I would really like to think of it as foxscribbler is somebody who would be out there that you can really look out for when you need to hear something to like go through with your problems or get some solutions. So yeah. So that is how foxscribbler came about.
That's so beautiful. That's so wonderful. It's like a mix of like you did a little bit of biology there. you described
Yeah.
it. It's like, wow, he has a lot of things that he knows. Well, since you did take biology or microbiology, I think in college, right? So that really influenced that. But the symbolism behind the fox, really, I do think it does fit it to the T.
We appreciate that being English teachers as well. And as a fan of Roald Dahl, who wrote the fantastic Mr. Fox, one of my favorite books, and that Wes Anderson adaptation, I'm like, it's still aligned because I can imagine not just you, Harry, but also George Clooney voicing the fantastic Mr. Fox, writing with your same tools, having the same stuff in his fictional domicile. I really appreciate it. I'm just having epiphanies left and right in this conversation. So thank you.
Yeah. Actually, since you mentioned that you've been sharing your content on Instagram, we do want to know, like, because for most people journaling is a solitary and private thing, but we want to know like what made you share your work? Like what compelled you or what like prompted you to share your work to others?
So perhaps from my own perspective, like what I want to share, before I will want to share, is that as mentioned a little earlier, is that every time when I have some challenges in my life, or when I'm facing some kind of problems, I wouldn't be able to sort out my thoughts, mostly because maybe I'm not the type who want to share a lot, because I thought that probably that would burden some people around me. And maybe also at the same time, I grew up in an environment where I don't really get to share my personal details or even feelings. I don't grow up in the kind of environment, so I would resort to writing into journal. And when I do write in journal, I would always find contents that would relate very well with my situations. And from there, I would start writing. I would start crafting, and in the whole entire process, I would forget about time. I would forget about everything else. I would be really focusing on to the entire process, and that already itself is a very therapeutic experience. And when I'm done, when I look at it, and I will be like entirely relieved from all the pressure that I probably had, before I even started journaling. And I thought that, the contents the articles that I found, they are so meaningful, they are so helpful. Together with the artwork that I put in, I look at the entire thing and I just like, this is helping me so much. And I do not have to share about the details. And even if I would share, provided it is not too personal, I would share it on the Instagram. And then from there, hopefully that it would, through those visual aesthetic and also the contents, it would be able to help people to also like get some kind of relief that I did from the entire process. So unlike other people who would write everything about their, the thing that happened in their journal, I wouldn't. I would just find an article that would relate, put it in, so that one day when I read back, I would always have this triggered action that came to my mind. Say, oh yeah, this happened. That's why I wrote all these articles onto my pages. So that's why I'm more comfortable to share that way. If I had to write about, oh shit, my boss treated me like this at work, oh no, my girlfriend dumped me, oh no, shit happened, I wouldn't be able to share it on Instagram because that would be too personal. And that would cost me my job, perhaps.
I get that because journaling is really unique for everyone. Some people have the style of like putting it all out, like how do I feel? And I like how you do your journaling, wherein I think you focus on a dominant feeling or a dominant theme, and then you talk about that without really disclosing the what happened, but it's really more of like reflections. That's what I noticed with your entries. They're more of like reflective stuff, which is really profound and wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what's next, Ryan? I'm losing track of our questions. Wait a second.
Yeah, the next one actually is something to do with something. Since you mentioned your boss, but of course we're not gonna talk about your job.
Bring it on.
But it's something about, of course, how do you juggle, or how does your journaling balance or complement your job and vice versa?
Okay. So that's a good one, because most people think that when they are too busy with work and they don't get to have time to enjoy their hobby. Okay. So I think journaling, or particular like calligraphy, is not something that would hinder me when I'm super busy at work. Journaling maybe, but handwriting definitely not. So as I went along with calligraphy, like along the way, I find that it is not an activity that I should just restrict onto my journal, or something that I only do after work. And because when I was in medical sales back then, many years ago, when I first started out with calligraphy, I deal a lot with customers at work. So like customers, because we do have competitors companies as well, who are always there to see our clients and perhaps to even steal the market share. And we are all about the same. This is who we are. We are the company's representative. But what would really make the pitch is how this particular person, like a sales representative, will create not just an impression but also an impact to the customer. So this is where I would incorporate my hobby at work. Like for example, when we are supposed to meet our clients or when we are supposed to write them something, a piece of information that they requested, I would always incorporate some of the calligraphy elements into it. And I think I could just even show an example, like, but I can't really show you an address. So this is something that I have done for my customers. So I would just provide them some kind of like a letter and put it into a nice envelope like this. And I will write their names on top with my calligraphy. And this is not something that a lot of people would do because they find that it is too time consuming. So usually what they would do is that they would just send them a quick text on the phone. But I think both of you would agree that sending text over the phone is not anything like writing personal letters with their name on it and put it onto their table. And if I do have the time, I would even go a little bit further, like provided them with some kind of like a gift. I think I don't have an example here. I would go with wax seal. I would also write their names, and this would be something that they are very appreciative. And this is really a reason why I really love my job, in the sense that no other people could actually do what I do.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Harry,
So
we're sold on it. Like, yeah, sell. Like you have enabled us. You have empowered us to buy another type of ink, and this time around, happy mail. Happy mail in the job. That
yeah.
sounds great. Like, yes, please. Thank you.
It is really what I really do. Like other than that, I don't really know how it will complement my job anymore, because I think I do write a lot to my customers. So that would also mean that I have a lot of late night sleep just to write them letters. After that, to seal them nicely with a wax seal, and then after that send to them, like, so many of them like this. So yeah, it is really something that,
We should send our students letters. Kidding. We should.
the letters, I don't think they will to know who is it from anyway. Why they send to my residential address, and they would freak out. How come you know where I stay?
For us teachers, it's usually when we check their papers, they're curious about what is the ink that we use, and then what pen, or they'd be interested in our handwriting. But Harry, I really like the approach that you have, especially with your line of work, because at a time wherein everything is so easy to communicate via text or via email, you've adapted and made use of the analog system in order to personalize and even create a new experience for people you're working with. So that's really a beautiful thing. Wonderful. We hope that there are more people like that.
It is almost like a bribery at its most subtle form.
It is. But it's like, can you imagine, Ryan, for example, like on a work day, it's so great going to your desk and then seeing some random thing that you didn't expect, and then it has your name on it. It's like early Christmas, and you give that to people, Harry. Wow, what an idea.
Yeah, if working right now, like face to face, I'd probably do that. I'd give people handwritten notes, and then with my wax seal, R. Yeah, beautiful. That's nice. That's very inspiring, Harry. Especially for a lot of the people who are into journaling, fountain pens. Usually, we see a common denominator. They're usually creatives or teachers, and this is the first time we're actually hearing it from someone who's in the medical sales field. So that's really a very interesting approach to seeing how all of this comes together.
Well, I do hope that it wouldn't become the kind of a tactic that other medical sales representative would copy, because that wouldn't put me in a very good position. I would have to up my game.
We'll try to keep the distribution to just us. Kidding. To just the community.
But I do think that people will remember that, it's Harry. He's the first one.
Yeah.
So, community. I know that we have another question about community, right?
Yeah,
And
community. Yes, Jika, go.
Okay, so I'm going to ask it this time around because we're pretty familiar with the community in the Philippines and somewhat familiar with how it is in the States and in Japan. But what is the Malaysian fountain pen and stationery journaling and planning community like? Um,
Well,
yeah.
well, at first, I really thought that it wasn't that big, and I thought that it is only just that handful of people that who does journal. But really, as I go along, and I do find that there are a lot of people who are doing journaling, scrapbooking in the entire Malaysia nationwide, and male and females alike. Okay, though I don't really get to see them, I don't really know where they are, but there was an event that we had in I think that was 2 years, 3 years ago. Can't really recall. I think that was 2 years ago. We had a gathering for a community like ourselves, and the crowd was amazing. There were so many people. We had people who came like with all kind of ages. They are young, they are old, they are not to say old, but yeah, you know. but it's really a big community, a bigger community than I imagined. So, and people in Malaysia who journals, I think it applies for everywhere else as well, because I do keep in touch with a lot of other creators from overseas. They are all very nice people. They are creative. They are very kind. They are encouraging. They are inspiring, and it go on and go on. So I think most important thing is the willingness to share. Like, for example, when somebody could really do a beautiful work, for example, like I love the way she incorporate how the ink blending together on the page and how they write it in a sense that they have the flourish to it, how exactly that I could do the same. These are the people who wouldn't be afraid that somebody else will copy their style, but instead they are more than happy to share. So people in Malaysia, I've met them all. I have seen them during that event, and I was really inspired, really thankful that people in our community are all so helpful, encouraging, and they are all very kind. And this is exactly why I started journaling, because it's really to help myself sort out my own feeling. But at the same time, I'm also hearing advices from other people, and at the same time, also getting like professional advice how exactly you can improve in the way you journal. And I think without these people, I think I wouldn't be able to write the way I am right now. So I am eternally grateful to all of these people.
Wow, I think there is this common trait that we notice also with the Filipino community, that people are very kind. People are actually very generous when it comes to sharing their resources, sharing their insights, and also their creative inspirations. And so I do think that that's really something that we notice in the journaling community, not just in the Philippines, not just in the States or in Japan, but also even in Malaysia. So it really speaks a lot about the hobby as something that's really very empowering, very therapeutic, and very embracing of different cultures, different practices, and different beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think we're down to our last question. This is something now about, aside from the community, something about the brands, or where do you get your stuff? Where do you get the things that you use for your journals, for everything that you've been doing? So can you share with us like which local stores in Malaysia there do you usually shop?
Okay, so I think there's a lot of misconception from a lot of people from our community in the sense that we have to buy from everywhere. We have to buy so many things in order to make the pages work. But I beg to differ for my case, because I think in Malaysia we don't really have those like antique market or flea market that would provide me with a lot of elements that I could put into my pages. So I managed to actually get my supplies like some of the really beautiful supply paper beads from this seller in Malaysia called Shinjodu. So he is really able to provide me with the kind of like a really antique, simple, elegant design from her store. So and to all those people who are listening on during this podcast who are Malaysian, and That's another thing that I'm really happy to share is that they are not exactly costly. They are very affordable. So again, that is not entirely a good news because we tend to buy a lot. So that's what happened to me. I think I bought an entire supply that could last me about 4 to 6 months. So I probably need to buy again because I need to up my game, right? So yes, so this is one particular seller that I will go for in Malaysia to really get my supplies. Yeah.
Do they ship? That's always my question, right? Do they ship to the Philippines? Because I know
Yeah.
one store. I remember talking to someone, the representative of Writer's Store from Penang, and
Yep.
I know that they ship to the Philippines. And I also talked to Elsie of Elsie with Love. She makes stamps and she has like a bento box, and she has a Shopee that doesn't ship to the Philippines. And I just get sad because just like you said, your community over there is so creative and is so generous. And like when I talked to Elsie of Elsie with Love, she was like, I'm just waiting for a chance to be able to send you guys to ship there, but there are so many limitations. And it's just odd because like it's easier to get something from say the US or Japan when Malaysia's right next door.
Actually.
It's just right next door, not too far. I think there's another stationery shop that's closer to Philippines would be somewhere in Sabah, I believe. And I think that I forgot what's the name of that store, but yes, there is a store, a stationery store in Sabah that would be the closest to you. I do hope that they ship, but even if they don't, you can always rely on Shinjodu.
Thank you, Shinjodu. I have already noted you. Thank you.
And there are many other notable stores in Malaysia that also does shipping, and also they do sell like elements like this for you to journal. But again, I think the style that I always would adhere to would be something like this, the really rustic, masculine design. So it's not many places would sell pieces like this. So Shinjudu would always be the one place that I go for.
I guess I know where to go if I visit Malaysia.
True.
I don't believe they have a store. Maybe they would one day. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Shinjodu's online. Okay, I
Yes,
think.
it's online. Yeah.
Okay, got it. They can
Okay.
ship.
You're busy adding to cart already?
No, I just followed
Okay.
them just now.
So Jika just follow them, getting ready to look for stuff to add to cart.
Yeah, that's true. But for now, I think we are we done with the questions? Because I know that we have one round of what usually happens in our not special, not so noobs episode, and it is called
Uber have
Have I
I
Ever.
ever. So again, this is another wordplay of never have I ever. So we'll mention a couple of statements related to the hobby, and you just have to say yes or no, and then you can quite elaborate. So these are usually they're not really controversial, but these are some of the boo boos that we tend to make, even if we are seasoned journalers, seasoned in the community, but still we all make mistakes. And so I think that makes people relatable when they know that we also make mishaps, mistakes in the process of, creating content. So Harry, are you?
Is it like a quick fire?
Yeah.
Yes.
Only have to
Fast
answer
round.
yes or no. I don't have to elaborate any embarrassing moment further, right?
No need.
Yeah.
Absolutely no need.
Okay, great. Here we go.
Okay. So the first one is, never have I ever spilled ink all over the place while journaling.
No,
Wow, you're
I will remember.
beautiful.
Yeah, that says a lot about us, Ryan.
But I never spilled anything outside.
I
So it's just
never
me?
spilled when it comes to this ink. Never spilled a
Oh, yeah.
dot of drops.
Oh, that's scary. So, yes, okay. At least I know that I am alone in this one.
Jika, you can read the next statement.
Okay, the next Noober have I ever question is, Noober have I ever committed to just one journal or one planner for an entire year?
Yes.
Oh,
No, that was that would all be all our famous last word. Yes, yes, actually no. I have so many journal and it's like, journal halfway and there's still so many blanks one. But it doesn't mean that I stop there. I would continue from time to time.
Right. Actually, I'm curious though. Like, what planner do you use nowadays?
Okay, so I think the planner that I own, you mean for work or for journaling? I have so many journals.
Well, any maybe for work, like what's your daily like planner for the things that you do?
Okay, for work, usually I would go, normally I would go with this traveler's notebook, the horizontal weekly journal, the planner,
Mhm.
with a blank page on the right side where you can jot down a lot of notes. But I think I recently found a new love for a journal like that, and because I have been using that for years, so I decided to change it to a planner from France. This is Sunkin.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was talking to their sales rep last month.
Oh, how beautiful the journal is. Just so simple and elegant and it's so chic. It is so French. So, although it's a little bit costly, but it's beautiful. So why not? You only spend one time for this for a year, right? So why not?
That's true.
That's how I justify to get this book.
That's really great logic. You're only so if you divide the price of the item across 12 months, you actually feel better.
Well, actually, it's not 12 months. 15th month, I feel so much better. It's 15 months.
Okay.
Yes. But
Next question.
that's for work. But I think for like a normal journal, there will be FOMO Art Budapest, and I think that FOMO Art Budapest has really grown in me. So I have a few of their journals. This is like a smaller journal to have a really quick journal, but this would be a larger size that will open up to bigger spread. So that would require more time to design and to write. So yeah, this I will reserve it for serious writing.
How
I feel
We are
I
kind
saw
of just
you
in
with
awe.
widened eyes.
Yeah. You had to process it because it looks like those books that you put in antique that are in antique stores, but it's from now.
no. It looks like a journal of, I don't know, Dorian Gray or something.
True.
Right?
Okay. Next question, Ryan. Go ahead.
Yeah. Nuber, have I ever bought stationery products impulsively?
No.
No, he really is careful.
Yes. Yeah, because too many things. I have so many unfinished ink. So though I love them, but I tend to be more careful in really like buying things. No. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you get for 5 years of experience. You become
Yeah.
more.
I tend to buy a lot. I mean, yes, I did purchase impulsively in the very first year of journaling because that was the time I didn't know what to do, and I thought that there would be some kind of standard when it comes to journaling. There must be a right way of doing things. So I buy and buy and buy and buy, and I bought so many, and in the end I gave up for free to people. Need them anyway. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Which leads us, I believe, yes, this is our. Oh no, it's the second to the last one. Okay, so the second to the last Nuber have I ever is Nuber have I ever said that I have enough stationery already?
No. No.
Worse, who says that?
Yeah. Who says that? To call the police.
Every year we're gonna have to buy another planner or journal, so I guess it doesn't end until death.
Very gory. Just kidding. Okay, the last one is Nuber, have I ever not finished a planner or journals page?
You know the answer. With all the journals that I have beside me, with all the blank pages. So yeah, I never finished an entire journal, which I did many years ago. probably 3-4 years ago. Yeah, that was on a smaller planner, so that makes sense, right?
Oh,
That's wow.
that's
Wow.
that succeeded in making me relate to Harry. So we're all human. We all have impulses, but we also have a capacity to be careful, which I will do tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Careful tomorrow. So that's it for our episode with Harry foxscribbler. So Harry, can you tell us more about your where our listeners can find you, maybe on Instagram, or if you have other pages with which has your content?
But thank goodness I only have Instagram. Otherwise, I think I wouldn't be very active in social media. That would scare me apart. So I think, yeah, Instagram would be the only place that everybody will find me under the handler called Fox Scribbler. So hopefully my gallery would be able to provide some kind of like, as mentioned, advice or maybe some ideas or even some kind of inspiration to all of you. Yeah.
Yay!
We'll be sure to link it in our description. Don't worry about it. We were largely and we've been greatly inspired by Harry's feed and now by Harry himself. So hopefully, just like he said, since the community is all about sharing anyway, just having that link there will have you go onto his site and get some good stuff from him because he's willing to share anyway. So thanks guys for hanging out and thanks Harry for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jika and Ryan, for your time and also the invitation to have this session with me. And it's the first time, and I hope I did it well and I'm able to provide most of the details. And hopefully we didn't go overboard. What time is it right now?
Overtime, that's perfectly fine. It was really good conversation, Harry.
Really. And when all this is done, Malaysia, we'll see you there.
Yes, and all this is done. Or I will go to Manila to find you and some friends that I have in Manila. So yeah.
Oh my God, that pen meet is gonna be so much fun. But for now, painful goodbyes. And I guess it's time to say thank you again, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us for another episode of Pen.
No.
Oh.